Now, I don't have a ton of cookie recipes, but these flourless double chocolate cookies are a recipe that I make on repeat. The base of the recipe uses almond butter, so it's a gluten-free recipe that is quick, it's easy, it's delicious, and everybody in my house asks me to make these whenever I'm making cookies because they taste like a cookie and a brownie all combined into one. If we have not met yet, my name is Dani Spies. I am a health, eating psychology, and weight loss coach who loves to make healthy eating feel easy, delicious, and doable. So the first thing you want to do when you're making these cookies is preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then of course you have to prepare a baking sheet. I'm using a traditional rimmed baking sheet. It's a half a sheet pan, and I have that lined with a Silpat mat. Okay, you could do parchment paper, and if you really wanted to, you could just spray the cooking sheet as it, right on the cooking sheet, but it does make for a little bit of a messier cleanup, but all of these options will work. Now, what I love about this recipe is that it's a one bowl dump and stir recipe. If you have been with me for a while, you know that when it comes to baking, I don't do anything super complicated or intricate. As much as I love to cook, and I love to cook, I don't like precision. I like things that are easy. I like things that are kind of loose and quick, things that can be easily modified. So this is one of those recipes, basically meaning if you think you can't bake, you can absolutely make these cookies. Okay, so to start, I've got a nice big bowl, and I'm going to add the dry ingredients to the bowl first, starting with our sweetener. Now I am using some coconut sugar. If you've never tried coconut sugar before, it has a little bit more depth of flavor, kind of like a brown sugar, but even like richer and nuttier, almost like a molasses type of taste. Nutrition-wise, it has more trace minerals than, say, a white sugar, but I would not call it, a health food. It's still sugar. So if you'd prefer to use a traditional granulated sugar, that would work as well. If you want a low sugar option, you could also do this with some type of monk fruit sweetener, or like an erythritol blend. That would work as well. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of the sugar into the bowl. Now to that, we're gonna add some cocoa powder because these are double chocolate cookies, so we need a chocolate base. And this is a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. If you are curious of the difference between cocoa powder and cacao powder is basically cocoa powder that hasn't been heated yet. So it's slightly less processed, which means it has a little bit more nutrient density, but I will tell you, cocoa powder has a little bit more of a chocolatier taste. So you kind of pick and choose your battles. Do you want a little bit more trace minerals, or do you want a little bit more chocolate flavor? As you can see, I went with chocolate flavor. Okay, so that's the dry ingredients. And the other thing we need in here is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. That just helps to give the cookies a little bit of rise, a little fluff factor. So once you have the dry ingredients in the bowl, you're just gonna give it a quick whisk to bring that all together. Just a loose mix. All right, once you've done that, then you're ready for your wet ingredients. And again, that's gonna go right into the same bowl because we like easy in the Clean and Delicious kitchen. So we're gonna start with our almond butter. Now, here is the deal. I recommend that you look for an all-natural almond butter, meaning when you read your ingredients, all you're gonna see is almonds. Sometimes almonds and salt, okay? But no added sugars, no added oils. All you need are the almonds and the salt. What you will notice when you buy your almond butter this way is that the oil will often pool at the top, and you need to mix that oil into the almond butter, okay? So don't be tempted to pour it off, because then what happens is your almond butter is gonna get very dry and crumbly. So what I like to do is really just take a couple minutes, a few seconds, right, and just mix it in. When you're using the almond butter to make cookies, the texture of the almond butter is very important, okay? So you need it to look like this. You can see how my almond butter, it's like loose and pourable. It's not pooling oil, and it's not dry and crumbly. If it has a lot of oil on top, your cookies are gonna get very crispy. And if it's too dry and crumbly, the cookies aren't gonna hold together, and the cookies are gonna taste very dry and crumbly. So I will tell you, the texture of the almond butter does matter. This is a brand that my husband picks up. It's called Richard's, but the almond butter from Trader Joe's is very good, and the almond butter from Costco is also very good. Okay, so once you have a cup measured out, we're just gonna pour that into the bowl, and again, loose and pourable. I don't recommend using peanut butter for these cookies only because the peanut flavor is going to taste very peanut-y. Now, if you want to make a cookie that tastes like peanut butter and chocolate, then you could use peanut butter. It would definitely work. Again, it's just a flavor thing. If you wanted a different option for a mild nut butter that's not going to come through in flavor, cashew butter is another fantastic option. Okay, so we've got that into our bowl. Delicious, delightful, creamy, pourable. That's what we're looking for. I'm going to grab a towel. Hang on. Okay, just get that off our finger. Okay, and then the next thing that's going in is I have a couple of eggs. 1 and 2. We're gonna do a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So just a little pour. And that's it. Other than the chocolate chips, which we'll get to in a minute, this is the base of the recipe. So from here, you just want to mix and bring everything together. It's funny because when I first started cooking, like it was probably when I was in high school when I really started doing a lot of cooking, and I started with baking. So I just baked. My friend and I, every weekend, we would bake recipes. We would make cookies, we would make brownies, we would make muffin tops. That may be part of the reason that I struggled with my weight when I was younger, but we'll save that story for another day. But nowadays, I do like to sometimes make homemade treats like this. My husband specifically, he is like a cookie after lunch kind of guy. He just likes a cookie after lunch. He has for as long as I've known him. So I love to just have some clean and delicious cookies in the house. And I tend to stick with what's easy and what we love. So that's why you won't find me making like a ton of different cookie recipes, but I promise you the cookie recipes I share are absolutely delicious. Okay, so as I'm mixing this, can you see this? As you can see, it almost looks like a brownie batter, and that's exactly what we're going for. These cookies do taste like, they're like a cookie, but they have a little bit of a texture like and a flavor of a brownie. They're so good. So once it looks like this, it's all come together, then you're gonna add your chips in. So I've got 1/3 cup of chocolate chips. I'm gonna save a few in case I wanna put them on top. I love using those Lily's chocolate chips. It's like a low sugar, no added sugar chocolate chip because in my humble opinion, all of those little micro decisions, they add up over time. So, and I personally think they're delicious. So if you've never tried them, I do recommend them. I'll link them in the description box below. Okay, once you've got the batter together, like you can see I have here, very simple, very delicious. We are just going to grab our baking sheet, shape the cookies and get them onto the baking sheet. Now what I like to do is I just use a spoon. I get probably about a heaping tablespoon and then I just gently shape them, kind of like a meatball. You give them a little roll, a little pat, and lay them on the cooking sheet. These will spread when they cook, so you want to make sure that you give them a little bit of room when you lay them out. And I will also mention, if you have it, I actually don't, but if you had yourself a little bit of flaky sea salt, like that Maldon sea salt, M-A-L-D-O-N, you could put a little tiny sprinkle of that over the top of these before you put them in the oven, and that would be a beautiful addition, which I would do myself, except I don't have any. So I'm just gonna keep doing this until I've got them all laid out on the cookie sheet. Okay, so when you get to the last one, you should have 12 cookies on your baking sheet, and this recipe usually makes about 20 cookies. So you can do that in 2 batches. And then you certainly do not have to do this. And I don't usually, but I kind of am feeling curious right now. You can take a few extra chocolate chips if you want. You can just like put them over the top. I'm gonna do it on like 3 cookies. I'm gonna determine if I like this idea or not. I think it could be fun and it certainly could be pretty. I don't know that it's necessary, but we're gonna find out what we think. Okay, once your cookies are done and ready to go in the oven, you're gonna pop them into the 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes or until they're set through, or basically until your kitchen starts to become really fragrant. Like, you know when something's in the oven and you're like, that smells so good? That is usually a great indicator that whatever is in the oven is just about ready to go. Okay. So once they're done, you're gonna see that they spread quite a bit. It's a good sized cookie, and I'm just gonna let them cool, and then we're gonna do a taste test. But I will say, I definitely like the chocolate chips over the top. So if you're debating whether or not to do that, I say green light, add the chips over the top. It's just pretty. Okay, so once they're cooled off, you're gonna see that they come off the mat super easily, and they have a really light, airy texture, but at the same time, they're like super dense and chewy, kind of like a brownie as well. So they're like a paradox. This is like a paradox of a cookie. It's like a cookie and a brownie all in one delicious bite. They come out perfect every single time. So good. These cookies would be perfect for the holiday. They're perfect for school events, for holiday parties, or if you just want to have like a little sweet bite in the house. They store really well. You could pop them in an airtight container. They'll last for up to 5 days on the counter or for months in the freezer. So if you want to grab the recipe, head down to the description box below, and I have it for you there. And in the meantime, I will see you back here next week with some more clean and deliciousness. Cheers. One more bite for the chef. Delight.